two big questions while I was working on this project, and they were how are musical and literacy skills connected, and how can music help print and literacy skills? So the big thing that I was interested about was like, how does this work neurologically? Because we see it play out in children's abilities to read music and abilities to read words and print, but what necessarily goes on in the head, and how can we use this understanding to help us better serve our students in improving their literacy skills. So before we start, I want to take a minute to look back at a couple important terms that we've studied already this semester. So these are some things to keep in mind, and also one that's a little new, but also important. So phonological awareness is the ability to understand the sounds of language, and this includes the segmentation of words, beginning and ending of words, beginning and ending of sounds of words, and individual sounds of words. And phonemic awareness is the ability to understand those individual sounds. And then for the neurological stuff, plasticity is the brain's ability to adapt and change over time. So the neurophysiological side to music and literacy is really fascinating, but it can be difficult to understand because it's really complex and there's like a lot of big terms. So I found this good video clip that helps helps explain a lot of the important concepts that we will be talking about today.
So what's going on when we listen to music? We visited the USC Brain and Creativity Institute, where I had my head examined, literally, to try to figure it out.
I'm going to go into this fMRI machine, a tiny tube will surround me, we'll get a baseline reading of my brain, and then I'm going to listen to some music, and we're going to see how my brain responds.
Just close your eyes, relax, and try and get into the music as best you can, okay?
And here's what we saw. These are scans of my brain. The areas in red are where my activity is above average, in blue below average. And as you can see, there's red activity all over my brain, not just in one specific area.
25 years ago, the idea was that language is in the left side of the brain and music is in the right side of the brain. But now that we've got better quality tools, higher resolution neuroimaging, and better experimental methods, we've discovered that's not at all right.
How does that play out in different regions of the brain?
When music enters and then gets shuttled off to different parts of the brain, it stops at specialized processing units in auditory cortex. They track loudness and pitch and rhythm and timbre and things like that. There's visual cortex activation when you're reading music as a musician or watching music. Motor cortex when you're tapping your feet, snapping your fingers, clapping your hands. The cerebellum, which mediates the emotional responses. The memory system in the hippocampus, hearing a familiar passage, finding it somewhere in your memory banks. Music is going on in both halves of the brain, the left and the right, the front and the back, the inside and the outside.
So what about a musician's brain?
To play a piece of music engages so many things: motor systems, timing systems, memory systems, hearing systems. There's all sorts of kind of brain activity happening. It's a very robust thing to play music.
I'm Nathan Glenn Robertson.
We ask these 11-year-old musicians to tell us what's going through their minds when they play.
Some of the most important things are having good postures, getting the note right, legato, staccato. For the violin, you need to hold your hand at the right place, and you need to be in tune, and then you also have to have not only the right intonation, but the right sound, and then you also need to have great vibrato. There's a lot of things to think about.
Back at USC, researchers have been studying kids who play music over the past 5 years to see how it affects their development. The multitasking areas of their brains understandably lit up, but they've seen other results too.
Music training over the course of 5 years has had benefits in cognitive skills and decision making, also had some benefits in prosocial behavior, and we've also seen changes in the associated brain structures.
Did you hear that? Changes in brain structures. They found that the brains of children who have studied music have stronger connections between the right and left hemispheres, and that can make them better, more creative problem solvers. And then, so what's going on when we listen to music?
There you go. So that just summarizes a lot of what's going on in the head when you're making music, and also what starts to change over time as you practice music. So, as with many of the other studies I reviewed, this set focusing on the neurophysiological processes tracked the changes in brain structure or neurophysiological function after music training. In all three of these studies, research showed that changes did occur. In the first study, a significant increase in syllabic differentiation in children led researchers to conclude that involvement with music program led to an enhancement in neurophysiological function, specifically in the differentiation of speech syllables. In the next study, researchers tested musicians and non-musicians on their ability to pick out pre-selected sounds from a series of different audio and visual clips. The musicians in the program did significantly better, leading to the conclusion that musicians have a more synchronous response to the onset of sound, which is the hallmark of a high-functioning peripheral auditory system, and that they acquire more enhanced representation of pitch, and that musical training acts on different mechanisms of the brain, leading to the plasticity of the cortical and subcortical centers of the brain. In other words, musical training acts upon the different parts of the brain to enhance its plasticity and the systems that work within processing auditory information. The final study was similar to the second one in that it tracked musicians and non-musicians' abilities to differentiate between 3 different words in Mandarin, different only in their pitch pattern. As before, musicians did significantly better than non-musicians in this task. This study suggests that long-term music making may shape basic sensory circuitry in the brain. This is most likely due to the fact that musicians use pitch information extensively, which in turn positively affects the brain's ability to process and encode pitch information. So I know that was a lot of big academic terms, but holistically, these studies all showed that music training enhanced areas of the brain that are also involved in literacy skills. Being able to differentiate even the most minute sounds plays a major role in our ability to understand and decode speech and writing. The better we are at differentiating these sounds, the stronger our literacy skills. The fact that music can help improve these skills is a big deal because we have an effective and accessible tool at our disposal. So from the neurophysiological studies, we see that the brain does change in favor of literacy skills after musical training. But how exactly do these changes affect literacy skills? Not surprisingly, there have also been many studies on this very question. So overall, music affects many different areas of literacy skills, including non-word reading, spelling, rhyme awareness, phoneme deletion, phonological skills, prosodic reading ability, which directly affects reading fluency, phonemic segmentation fluency, reading comprehension, and vocabulary. These are all extremely important skills for developing and having strong literacy skills in children. Many different musical skills were tested and trained to see their relationship to these literacy skills, and it was discovered that rhythm had one of the highest influences on literacy skills. And in a study by Steinbrink et al., they drew conclusions on this finding. And I pulled a quote from there that really helped explain why rhythm is so integrally connected to literacy skills. So, overall, the link between rhythm processing and phonological phonemic awareness might be explained by shared mechanisms, such as the accurate processing of temporal patterns in acoustic stimuli. Temporal patterns in speech contain important cues to phonological units, such as syllables, phonemes, and stresses. With respect to larger phonological units, timing skills as indicated by rhythmical abilities might be, among others, relevant for the perception of stressed versus unstressed syllables and for the accurate perception of speech rhythm. With respect to the phonemic level, efficient temporal processing abilities might be required for accurate phoneme perception, the quality of which determines the quality of the long-term representations of these phonemes and has an impact on children's ability to learn grapheme-phoneme mappings. Long story short, rhythmic abilities directly tie to language and literacy abilities. This in turn offers us a direct and concrete way to help students improve their literacy abilities. Strengthen their rhythm skills in music, and you strengthen their literacy skills in the classroom. Music trains and heightens many parallel areas found in language and literacy skills. For example, music and literacy both rely on pitch, timbre, and timing, as well as rhythm patterns and tempo. In music, these skills are needed to understand and successfully execute the music. The same is true for literacy skills. Rhythm patterns, timing, pitch, and etc., all the other dimensions, all play an important role in decoding speech and rhythm words, which directly affects literacy and fluency. Finally, as seen in the neurophysiological studies, music training develops and strengthens the areas in the brain that distinguish minute sounds. This is essential for literacy skills for two reasons. Firstly, it helps children decode a plethora of words, strengthening their language and literacy skills. And secondly, it helps children learn to distinguish relevant sounds. That means children strengthen their sound to meaning abilities as it becomes easier to decipher what sounds are just sounds and what sounds are actually words. As you can see, music is a very effective tool for strengthening literacy skills in students, but it doesn't stop there. Music is also an effective tool for students that are dyslexic or are learning a new language to improve their literacy skills. So recently, research has shown that dyslexia is the result of a phonological disorder. Those who have dyslexia struggle to distinguish sounds, leading to phonological confusion. This presents itself as mixing up letters or deciphering words incorrectly. As we saw in the video clip, music has the ability to engage many different areas of the brain. This engagement results in better communication between the hemispheres and better differentiation of sounds. This, along with the fact that music training improves phonological awareness, helps individuals with dyslexia improve their phonological skills and subsequently their literacy skills. This means that music can be used to directly improve literacy skills in individuals with dyslexia. Along with helping those students, music also helps ELL students improve their literacy skills. The first intelligence we as humans exhibit is musical intelligence. Think about all of those cute baby videos circulating around of little infants moving to a piece of music before they can talk, walk, or even sometimes crawl or sit up. Using this innate factor to help ELL students build literacy skills in a secondary language ends up being a highly effective method that teachers can employ. Another reason music is such an effective tool is because learning songs typically creates a casual atmosphere, encouraging a positive learning attitude for all students. This erases the fear of being wrong for ELL students and motivates them to have fun and learn along with everyone else. When a student isn't afraid to be wrong, the deepest learning occurs. Using classroom songs to teach literacy skills is also beneficial because students learn the type of language they will encounter every day, not just the formal academic language of essays or textbook readings that they do very often in the classroom. This makes what they learn a lot more applicable. Classroom songs also help teach many critical components of language, such as grammar, pronunciation, stress, and rhythm. As a result, music helps ELL students significantly improve their literacy skills in English as they practice with an applicable tool in a welcoming environment. So, since music is a highly effective tool for improving literacy among students, how do we apply this notion to our teaching? So we're going to take a minute, turn and talk with your table mates about some ways you might use music as a literacy tool.
I think composition has a lot to do with it. Like, you have kids compose their own songs and have them write lyrics. You have to focus on like what syllable can fall with what note, and like what notes will go with each word based on like pitch and all that stuff. Like pitch, you would use when saying certain syllables in a word. You would put on like a higher note or a lower note.
I was thinking more like it gets that like creative side out there. It's just like, when they actually get to create something.
I feel like it's also very similar to your presentation of how music's incorporated.
Yeah.
Sound like because like the grammar and the syntax of those areas are so much different. Same with like sacred tunes, like the words and the language they use is so much different. Because like
All right. So I heard some really nice conversations going on, some really neat things. Does anybody want to share what they discussed with their table mates?
I think implementing like songs, using songs to mixing songs and vocabulary. So putting like vocabulary words and their definitions and using like music to make it like a song that kids can sing along to could get kids to really like understand the vocabulary words, their definitions, while also implementing like music.
Nice. Anybody else want to share?
You could do like composition things and have students put words to their songs, and they would have to focus on where to put each syllable in relation, to the rhythm of the song that they wrote, and also like applying that to pitch, like the pitch of each kind of syllable of the word would fall on their respective pitch in the song.
So those are both really good ideas. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about this. So I'm just going to talk about, talk about two different strategies that you can implement into your classroom. So the first one is, we've already discussed rhythm's importance in literacy skills. So any activities that get children working with syllables, such as chanting or clapping, tapping out syllables in a song, or making sure you write a piece of music stressing out the different syllables of words, are great ways to help students both learn the lyrics to a song and to internalize the structure of the language. Also, games that target phonemic awareness can also be beneficial. Rhymes are a great way to build these skills and can be easily incorporated into a musical game or song. So let's try it out. Think about the song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and the words that rhyme in the song. There's two different sets, and when they come to mind, feel free to shout them out, or if you want, you can raise your hand and I'll call them out too. Don't all jump at once. Yes, Darren?
Star and R.
Yes, that's the first set. And does anybody know what the second set is?
High and sky.
Yes. So now, if you will all humor me, we are going to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star together. And when we get to those sets of words, I want you to stress it. So twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So here we go. Ready, go. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Beautiful singing. Thank you for humoring me. So you can use this strategy with pretty much any nursery rhyme that has, rhymes at the end. Kids have a lot of fun with this because it's a little silly. You're singing differently for some words, but it also gets them realizing, oh, these words connect because they rhyme. There's also a bunch of other songs you can use for this. I don't know if anybody knows the song Down by the Bay, but in the middle of that song, there's this little quirky line that changes with each time that you sing it, and it's just the most ridiculous thing, like a bear combing its hair, or a fly wearing a tie, or I think a llama in pajamas. And every time you say these little sets of words, you're connecting two different words that rhyme, but it's all different rhymes. So you're not rhyming with the same vowel sound every time, so it shows students, oh, there's a lot of different words that rhyme in very different ways, but they're singing this super silly song and having a great time with it. So they end up learning it really well because it's something that sticks with them as time goes on. So music is such an effective tool for teaching literacy skills. At its core, a music education changes the brain to be more adept with literacy skills. And from extensive research, certain musical dimensions are more beneficial to this development than others, such as rhythm. Incorporating music games into the classroom helps students work on and strengthen literacy skills, all while having fun in a welcoming, low judgment zone. So are there any questions? That's the end of my presentation.